Hello, gang. My name is Charlie Coiner, and I'm the owner of FirstDown PlayBook. More importantly, I'm a 30-year football coach, 9 in the NFL and the rest in college. And we've been doing these webinars now this will be week number 8. We've got 2 more coming up. We've got one on the option run game next week that ought to be fun. And then we're going to finish up with something that we don't spend a lot of time here on the last week, just a passing game. But I think youth football, a lot of it depends on what kind of quarterback you do have. But even if you have a very young quarterback, I think there's a lot of things I think there are some things that you can do in the passing game if you're smart about it. And so we'll cover that the last week. I just want to make a point that all of these webinars are on FirstDown PlayBook. You're looking at an example of it right there on the screen, and I'll show you more here toward the end. So if you've missed any of them and you're here tonight and you think, well, that was pretty helpful, then you can go back on FirstDown PlayBook, and the webinar, the video is actually there, and obviously the diagrams that go with it. But I'll have Kendall. You've heard her here a couple times tonight giving you the speaker check and the mic check and all that. The way we do this for anyone that we have here that's new is we hold our questions to the end. We'll have a lot of coaches on here tonight, and so I don't want to hold anybody up. I want to make sure that, we cover the 5-3 youth football 5-3 Bear defense. And at the end, your questions can be about anything. They can be about the 5-3 Bear. I had a question this week from one of our coaches that attended, a previous webinar on the 4-4 defense. So don't feel like it has to be about the Bear. We like to have the questions at the end. Other than that, we'll get started here. Let me get this screen minimized here. Okay, let's talk about the 5-3 Bear defense, the why and where it comes from and where it starts and everything. And, you're looking at a pure 5-3 that we covered several weeks ago. And it's, a close cousin or brother or sister really to, the Bear is to the 5-3. Because essentially what you're doing in the youth football part of it, you're going to have a 5-man front, all right? And you're going to take these 5 techniques out here and you're going to reduce them down to 3s. Okay, that's really the biggest change that you're going to make. And right here is a sample, the same formation offensively, but you've got a 5-3. Now, before we get, and I'm doing this, what we call double wing formation to start talking about it, just because it's a balanced formation and easy to talk about. But predominantly, if you're going to play a 5-3 Bear, all right, what you're really looking to do is you're trying to be strong up the middle. You're playing with a nose, all right, and 2-3 techniques, and you've got whatever you want to do out here on the edges with 9 technique or a crease or whatever. And then what we call a choke technique here is what we're playing with our 2 outside backers, the Will and the Sam, and we got the Mike in the middle and the free safeties free. And what we're going to do here in a second is we're going to build a Bear defense player by player. All right, but right now I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we try to make sure that we make the point here. If you're coaching youth football, particularly young players, keep it very, very simple. Now, but this is one of the things that you can do. You can tie in a 5-3, all right, and then mix in a 5-3 Bear and probably be pretty, safe as far as your assignments and everything. So why do you run a 5-3 Bear? Okay, obviously, if you've got a nose guard, and I'm going to talk about that technique here in a little bit, and you got the 2-3 techniques, you've got pretty much with the Mike backer stacks, you got the A gaps and the B gaps pretty daggone defended, okay? And so if you're going to be strong up the middle like that, there needs to be a reason. And probably that reason is going to be that you're going to be playing a 2-back or a 3-back team. And I'll show you that here in a second. This is not obviously a 2-back or a 3-back formation. But I want to make that point. The times that I'm going to play a Bear defense is when I want to be strong up the middle because they have a lead back and they're bringing them in the A gap or the B gap, and they're trying to run the ball right down our throat. And so I want to get strong with my nose and 2 tackles, and I want to have a Mike backer that can flow over the top. There'll be a different, you'll actually have 2 backers in there when it's 2 backs, because you won't have this formation right here. So just keep that in mind, that's when you want to play a 5-3 bear. Now, let's build a bear defense. Let's just build it player by player, and that way, and when you're in FirstDown PlayBook, I'll show you here in a second, all of these coaching assignments are in that. But a bear defense starts, coaches, with the nose guard. Now, you got that nose guard is playing what we call a 0 technique. Okay, now there's a lot of different ways that you can play a nose guard in a bear or a 5-3. The 0 technique can be played really three main ways. One is that if you have a really good player, then you can tell that nose that he's going to play front door on anything that happens. And what that means is, if this center tries to reach this way, if that player tries to do that, that nose guard is going to maintain that strong side A gap, the play side A gap, okay? Now, another way that you could play it, though, and a way that I would recommend playing it with young players, is that if this center reaches this way, you can allow that nose to just play the back door, okay? In fact, at Vanderbilt, when I coached at Vanderbilt, I actually coached the nose guard, and we had a hop around technique to where you just essentially hop the back door and threw your hip in the gap. Now, I don't think you're going to get into that with youth football, but the big thing to understand is that if your nose is really good, you can play front door with it, meaning you're going to try to keep him play side. If you're going to do that with that player, you better back them off the ball some, and you better give them a chance to get there, because the closer they are, the harder it is. All right, if you're going to play back door with it, you can probably put them up there pretty close to the line of scrimmage. Now, the other way that you can play this position is play it, but never let them sit there. Always stun them one way or the other. Give them a rip or a Liz or something like that. We'll talk about that here in a second. So that's your nose guard position. The stance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my nose guard to get in if I don't have any predetermined way they're going to move, I'm going to let them get in their normal stance. I'm going to back them off the ball. If they're right-handed, put the right hand down, whatever is more comfortable to them. I would have a balanced stance with my feet, all right, to where they can move laterally, because that's what they're going to have to do. Now, if I'm going to predetermine the gap that they're going to have, I'm going to tell them to keep their gap side hand off the ground. So if I'm responsible over here, I'm going to have my left hand in the ground and be in a left-handed stance. If I'm going to be responsible over here, I'm going to have my right hand on the ground and be in a right-handed stance. That's just so your offhand, the hand that's not on the ground, can be used to control the center. Okay, now, once again, if you're playing backdoor technique, that's not as important. But this is a key part of a 5-3 bear defense. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. Okay, now let's bring the 3 techniques into it. 3 technique is outside shade on the guard. Now, how tight are you going to play it as a base? What you're going to do with these 2 people is pretty much you're going to take their inside foot and split the crotch of the guard. And you're going to put this tackle right here, will be in a left-handed stance. He'll keep his right hand off the ground so that he can control the outside part of the guard, control the B gap. He is a B gap player, okay? Once again, the further off the ball you get him, the easier it's going to be. You just don't want to get ridiculous about it. Over here, it's just the opposite. Right now, I'm going to have this player right here have his in a right-handed stance where his left hand is free. His left hand can be used to control. Now, what you might actually end up doing is playing a player, okay, that is a natural left-hander over here on the right side. Now, if you're coaching really young players, just get them in the shade. The other thing that you can do other than get them off the ball, the younger and the more inexperienced they are, the wider you want to get them, okay? That way they can control their gap. But understand, coaches, when you widen the player and you widen him out there and he's playing a real wide 3, this guard right here can get off the ball and get on a linebacker in a hurry. The reason that you play a tighter technique is that you want this tackle right here not only to maintain the B gap, but you also want them to collision the guard and help get the guard, keep the guard off of the Mike backer so he can flow over the top. Okay, so now let's just build, once again, let's build this defense inside out. All right. First Down Playbook head coach, all right, Mike Singletary, made this position famous. That's why it's called the bear defense, 46 bear at that level. But what this guy right here does, all right, he's going to read through really the triangle here, the center and two guards. And what I mean by that, if you've got a player that's got a little experience, meaning you're coaching 11, 12, 13-year-olds, they probably are going to be able to see a guard pull, okay? They're probably going to be able to see this triangle do things. The triangle always is going to do something. Down, down, pull, all right? It might be the opposite, down, down, pull. It might be everybody's reaching to the left. Everybody's reaching to the right. But that's what this guy right here does. And once again, that's why you maybe want to play a tighter technique with this 3 technique if you can, as long as they can, maintain this B gap out here, because you want to keep this guy clean. This ought to be one of your better players where he can run to the ball, run and hit. And once again, we've all seen Mike Singletary play that. Even if you're young, you need to go back and look at video of him playing it. So look at what we're doing here. We're building this right up the middle. Now, I picked this formation for a reason. On the open end side, you're still in pretty good shape over here. You can still just play a normal 5 technique. What's a 5 technique? It's outside shade on the tackle. So I'm going to keep my outside hand free, which means in this case right here, I would be in a right-handed stance, splitting the crotch of the tackle. His right foot should split the crotch of the tackle. And so he's going to be your contained player. He has an open end. The defense kind of fits pretty well here. So let's go over here to the strong side. This is where you have a decision to make. How you going to play it? Are you going to play it with a 7 technique, where you're going to have the end responsible for the C gap here? Or are you going to play it a 9 technique outside, or where they're going to be responsible for the D gap? With a younger defense, I think what I would do is I would play a 9 technique. Most of the questions, or a lot of the questions that we get here on the Youth Football Chalk Talk, and even during the week, a lot of them are about contain. So what you can do is you can be strong up the middle, but you built yourself a contained player out here to the open inside, and you've also built yourself a contained player out here to the strong side. How wide is this in? It depends a lot on what you're going to do with your sandbacker. All right, now let's go ahead and stay to the strong side. The sandbacker can play off of the ball, all right, if you want them to. There is coverage responsibility here. With the 5-3 bear, the way we're building it right now, there is no coverage responsibility if you're in 2 tackles and nose. If it's a pass, your contained rusher is coming here. Your contained rusher over here is coming here. And then what's got to happen over here is you want to try to get a B gap rusher, a B to C gap rusher, and then your nose can have a 2-way go. All right, now, but back here, now you get into coverage. The Mike backer will have the first back out either way. What we've done right here, the sandbacker, they've got the tight end. Now, you can play, depending on the rules of your league, you can play the sandbacker in a choke. All right, if your league allows you to have more than 5 players on the line of scrimmage, and some leagues do, some don't. I spoke to a coach this week that could only have 5 players on the line of scrimmage. You would not be able to do that in his league. But a choke player is someone that gets right up on the line of scrimmage. You're going to play the inside half of that tight end. And by design, what you're doing is you're not letting this tight end get off the line of scrimmage to get in the pass, because he's got a defensive end on the outside, all right, that he's got to avoid. And he's got the sandbacker on the inside that if he tries to release, is going to get his hands on him and then cover him, taking away the inside. So if you can play a choke technique, I would recommend it. If they don't let you have but 5 people in line of scrimmage, I would still play the sandbacker right there, and I would play him off the ball, play him in man coverage. Now, the wheel backer to the open inside, all right, there's no difference over here, coaches. With a reduction, you've got a 3 and a 5. The same thing, really, the same technique that you have when you have a 6-2 or even some 4-4 defenses. So all he's going to do, he's protected over here. He's got an end on the tackle, a tackle on the guard, and he's just going to read through. Once again, maybe he can see pull across. If he can see that, all right, he can be a little faster, but he still got to stay behind the ball, scrape. If he can see down block and a puller coming this way, what he's got to see is he's going to have to fill off of this end. If that end stays outside, he needs to stay inside. If that end squeezes down and gets his hands on that tackle, all right, then he's going to play it on the outside. So really what he does is he plays off of this open side end over here. Now, let me point out, since I've got all three backers in here now, I'm talking to you a lot about, seeing pullers. And I know I've got some coaches in here that are coaching, maybe 8-year-olds or 7-year-olds. Well, okay, then I don't know that I'm going to talk a lot about pullers if I'm coaching kids that age. I'm going to talk about, all right, back to my side or back flow. If I've got flow this way, okay, I got a fullback leading for the running back here. Let's look at gap responsibility. I've got a contained player out here. I've got a C gap player with my Sam backer. All right, I've got inside out. Once again, he's covered up. You should have your Mike backer to be able to come inside, scrape all the way to the outside. You've got slow to go on the backside right here. Got to be real slow, all right, in case you get cut back. Now, he's not a reverse player. The reverse player is the end. Here's your contained player out here. What does that mean? Flow goes away at the point where that ball can't come back on a reverse, and now that end can start folding and chasing. Until that ball does that, that end is responsible to stay back here for contain and any reverses and all that. So just remember that. Right now, so all of my linebackers right now, we're talking about flow. If you got flow the other way, which you could well get, then really it's just the same thing on the just the other direction. All right, let's talk about the secondary and the coverage. Your corners, the way I would play it at youth level, and I've got some varsity plays in here, I would play man coverage. I'd play it inside out, depending on how good my corner is and how good that receiver is. I get the question all the time, how far off you want to play the corner? Well, if my corner is real good and their receiver's okay, I'm going to play a corner about right here. I'm going to get him right up there, and I'm going to challenge him all day long. But if that receiver's really good, I'm not going to do that to that player. I'm going to back him up and let him play, within reason. The thing that you have an advantage with youth football is that if you play your cornerback off and you're 10, maybe even 12 yards deep, there are not many quarterbacks at the youth level that are just going to raise up and throw it to that guy enough to hurt you. Now, what they can do is they can throw it to that guy, and if you don't get on, up to tackle him in a hurry, you're giving him space, to go create plays. So once again, you've just got to pick your poison a little bit. But the big thing is play inside leverage. We did a deal with flag football this week on the coaches community site. Here's one of the biggest things that gets people in trouble in flag football. No different for you, no different if you're coaching at the New England Patriots. You've got to stay inside leverage on your receiver. You're going to get to where now, as you get older, you're going to start bringing motion across. The receiver's going to come across in motion, right? And if your corner is going to come with him, that corner's got to stay inside the whole way. All right. Now, it's not a big a deal right here unless they want to release him in the A or B gap. But when that receiver comes out the other side, now your corner has to understand, now I have to slow down and stay inside. And the reason you do that is because you don't want to let the quarterback throw in breaking routes. It's a lot easier for a quarterback to throw this than it is for a quarterback to throw this. Hard throw, even at the older levels, for a quarterback to throw an out route. So you want to make sure that you're teaching all of your man coverage principles to be inside. And that goes for your linebackers too. One of the hardest things for an NFL linebacker, a rookie NFL linebacker, to understand is that when that running back starts to the flat, you can't over pursue it, because if he comes inside of you, all right, it's an easy throw for the quarterback. So what you've got to teach your backers, even at the youth level, same thing. If that running back starts out this way, you want to go cover him, but you want to stay inside. You don't want to give the quarterback easy throws. Just sound fundamental football, regardless of what defense you're playing. Okay, so we line our other corner up the same way. Inside out, man coverage. Now, the good thing about a 5-3, and we told you this the second week of defense, for 6'2", you're committing yourself to playing pure zero coverage. With a 5-3 or a 5-3 bear, now you've got a free safety that can almost act just like this Mike Backer. They can be inside out on the ball, downhill, an extra run player. And obviously, I know a lot of you use a free safety as your last line of defense, okay, with a youth defense. Now, just some things, and I'm just going to take this one defense right here. If you get a wing, or if you get a wing, changes things a little bit about being inside of him to start with, obviously, but that receiver, I'll just call it a wing. We'll change, we'll make him blue here. All right, so when you get that, all right, now the technique out here, you've got to do one or two things. Once again, you need to change this into like what we call a crease technique, to where essentially that end is going to destroy any block that goes on with that tight end and wing right there. If you want to play it out here wide, you can for contain, but just understand that if you're going to contain with your end out there, you're making a smaller corner. You're putting a lot of burden on this Sam Backer right here. Now, you could do it. You could come here. You could play your choke technique once again and maybe play it like this and then tell your corner to be inside out. Excuse me, yeah, to be inside out on the wing right there. Your Sam's got the tight end choked and your end is still contained. But a wing can be a big deal. All right, now what if they did something like this to you guys? If they came out and put a single back here and had a receiver out here, and you're in a bear defense. Now you can play that. You're in okay shape, but just I want to make a point. At the very beginning, I told you that you want to play a bear defense normally because you're getting pounded inside, right? So if I'm getting, if I'm getting this formation, what's about to happen? Mom called from Virginia and said that they're about to come after us out here on the wing side. So you might want to consider making a call that widens maybe your front out here to what we call a 5-3 under. And I'll show you that here in a second, and adjust, because you're probably not going to be getting pounded inside with one back. So once again, it just goes back to like if you're getting one back or spread deals, you can play bear. Nobody said you couldn't play bear, but you need to make sure that you're playing it for the right reason. All right, now let's go back over here. All right, some things that you can do, and you don't have to. This is a pressure that we call wham in the FirstDown PlayBook 5-3 bear section. Sorry, I'm trying to look up here and keep track of my time. All right, so wham, we call it wham because you're bringing the wheel backer, but let's just take the wheel backer out of it for a second, because you don't necessarily have to do that. Now, look at what's going on here. The one thing that is good about a bear defense is that you can direct your TNT one way or the other. And when you do that, if you do it to the right and then do it to the left, you kind of present the offense with totally different problems depending on which way you go to. Now, once again, I'm teaching out of a double wing offensive formation here just for teaching purposes. Typically, what you would do is you would stunt maybe to where the run is going to go, but you can also have a stunt where it comes to the field, and I'll show you that here in a second. But the thing to remember is just back your players up a little bit so they can get across, and what you're going to do is you're going to, depending on the age of your players, but you're going to read this block right here, all right? You're going to read what this tackle does. As you stunt, all right, this 3 technique right here is going to stunt right into that tackle, all right? He's not trying to get across the face. He's going to stunt right to the hip of that tackle. If that tackle is reach blocking over here and they're running some kind of zone block or play over here to the right, that tackle is just going to get in the hip and go make a play. He doesn't need to get over there in the C gap. He can play that B gap and just penetrate. What he's doing is making sure that this guy can't block him. All right, now, what if the blocking scheme was this? If you stun it and this tackle blocked down on the 3 technique, well, now what you do is now you do cross the face. All right, you cross his face. So what you're doing is you're reading this tackle. Flow away from me, get in the hip behind him. block down on me, cross his face, and get over to the C gap. And once again, I understand some of you are coaching younger players and might not be able to get that taught to a 7 or 8 year old, but I'm here to tell you right now, it's not, if you keep your teaching simple and don't run 900 defenses and just run really a stunning defense with a 3-man front here, you can teach that. Same thing right here for your nose. Your nose is going to read the guard. What is the guard doing? All right. Just try to teach it across the board right there. Now, on your backside over here, I want you to look at something. You don't necessarily even have to bring that tackle into the A gap if you want to. You can, it's fine. And I would teach it that way. I wouldn't even bring him into the center. I would just bring him into the A gap. But if you were just to leave that tackle alone, you're going to really be getting to the under defense, all right, that I'm about to show you. Really, all you're doing is you're getting a shade, a 5, a 3 technique, and an under defense. So a lot of different ways that you can do up front, all right, with your movement. You can move them either way. Now, yes, you can bring pressure too. You can just bring that wheel backer. All you're going to do now is play pure man coverage. Your free safety will go to the side of the backer. That's blitzing right here. Let's take a look at another example of movement out of a 5-3 bear. Now, you're noticing here, we're moving to the weak side. We're moving to the weak side based on the strength call. So the Sam backer's over here. And we call this sting, 5-3 bear sting, because you're bringing the Sam. I'm not going to go back through everything I just did because all you're doing is the reverse of that, right? But you might say, well, why would you ever stun away from the strong side? Well, you might have a player that you're going to stunt to, their best player. You might not have this formation. You might stunt to the back. In other words, you're going to make the call to number 32, wherever he is. All right. And the other thing that you could be doing is you could say, we're going to stunt to the field. All right. Like we're doing right here. But really, all the principles remain the same. It's a 5-3. We're calling it sting. You can call it whatever you want to. Free safety now has got to come over here and cover the Sam's guy because he's coming on the blitz. All right, just a second ago, I showed you a 5-3 under. We're not going to spend the whole week like we've done the other, but the 5-3 under is one of our youth defenses. And so as you can look right here, you can see that essentially 5-3 under is a lot like the, I showed you at the very beginning of this, tying into just a pure 5-3. But really, with a down block, him crossing the face, what you're getting to is you're getting to a 5-3 under when you stunt. Okay, so I would encourage you. I had a question this week from a coach that wanted to play, he wanted to play a 3 technique to one side and keep a shade 5-9 to the other, but they wouldn't let him play but 5 on the line of scrimmage. I directed him to the 5-3 under defense. And once again, it might be something that you can tie into your 5-3 bear that we're talking about tonight. Okay, now, if you're coaching older players, this is a version, it's a 3-4 bear. Okay, you've been looking at a 5-3 bear in the youth part of it. In the FirstDown PlayBook varsity section, if you're coaching 11, 12-year-olds and you want to get involved, with a bear defense, more sophisticated, you can just go over here and look at the coaching notes, or you can see that they're a lot more detailed. You've got just versions of different things that you're going to need to know based on the what's going on with motion and all that type of thing. All right, now, but the thing that you want to look at over here is that we're committing the will to rush, okay, in the 3-4, the end, nose, and end are rushers, but everybody over here is still playing man coverage, okay? And so you've got a deep safety, just like you did in the 5-3 bear, but essentially what you're doing is now you're going to have to create a contain rusher out here with this end. It's going to have to get wide. And that's just some of the things you run into when you try to play a bear defense at an older version, and then older version of players, I should say. All right, so now let's take a look at if you want to play zone with it. Now, you don't necessarily have to bring your Will Backer as your 4th rusher. You could bring your Mike or your Sam and then rotate your safeties down the other way. But I'm just trying to give you an example of when you hear somebody say they're playing a 3-4 bear or a 46 bear, it's all really the same thing. as what you're playing here with a 5-3 youth bear. You're playing essentially 2-3 techniques, a head up nose, and how you form your perimeter is up to you. Let me see if I've got anything. I think that's the last slide we've got. It is. And we're hitting right at about 9:30 anyway. So let me go back and recap. If you've got questions, please start getting them into Kindle. And I think we've got some already. In my opinion, guys, I like to come through and show you the little bit that I know, but my favorite part of this is answering your questions. And so once again, like I said at the beginning, if you got questions about the bear, if you got questions about offense or special teams, we'll try to get them answered tonight. But let's recap. The big thing about a bear defense, all right, is that it's really just a version of your 5-3, the way we're teaching it here tonight. And all you're doing is you're reducing your 5 techniques, all right? And now you're going to be strong up the middle. Why am I doing this? I'm doing it, all right, because I think what I'm about to get is I'm about to get some kind of power game up the middle. And it might, guys, if I got a 3-back offense, I would definitely be considering the bear. I mean, I really would, because you want to be strong up the middle and you want to try to bounce things outside to your linebackers. And that's what's about to happen to you if they've got 3 backs in here. They're about to block out, and they're going to try to bring 2 lead blockers on you and hand off. And they might even have 3 blockers and let this quarterback just get in behind if the rules allow it. So you want to make sure you're strong up the middle if you're about to get that. Kendall, what we got?
So our first question is from Troy, and he asked, I see a lot of wing and double wing back formations. What am I doing with that safety against that formation?
Well, Troy, it goes back a little bit now to what I was saying. If you're getting this formation, okay, I'm not completely convinced that bear is your best answer. Now, if you're asking me in general, you notice what's going on here. I can line up in a bear and stunt to that, but I'm just going to take your question. If I'm hearing you say, Kendall, a 1-back and a wing, is that what I just heard?
Wing and double wing back. Right.
So over here, Troy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a way, and we always get into this every week, about contain. All right. I want to find a player that's just, I don't want to use the word brave enough, but I want to, just tough enough to, they don't run wide out here and give a big alley. You've got to, if anything, you need to teach this corner right here, use up a blocker. Use up a blocker and make the ball go inside. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take, all right, if I've got a wing, Troy, it's one of 2 ways you can control it. You can be physical outside and make it come inside. But what I like to do with a wing is I like to tilt this inside. And on the snap of the ball, I like to take this end right here, this player right here, and I like to say to him, okay, here's what I want from you. I want you to blow up anything in that crease right now, okay? I want you to get in that crease, and I want you to destroy any block, and I want you to be a penetrator. And so what you do is you take a lot of pressure off this kid out here, probably not quite as big. I'm likely destroying their blocking scheme between tight end and wing. And now what I'm going to tell my backers now, regardless if it's if it's a bear or not, is that I might have my gap responsibility, but I need to expect that ball maybe to get bounced, okay? Because my corner is not going to be real physical, no matter how hard I want him probably to be. And I'm going to have a penetrator here. And what you're going to do is you're going to clean up over here. All right, you're going to be the cleanup player and play off of that. I hope that helps you. But if I'm getting double wing and I'm getting this kind of stuff, Troy, unless they're doing this to me, they're just crushing me up the middle, I'm not going to play a 5-3 bear probably as my first defense. Kendall?
This next question is from Aaron, and he apologizes if you already answered it, but what is the difference between a 5-3 and a 5-3 bear?
We did, Aaron. That's all right. I mean, right here, our first 2 slides, a 5-3, all right, in general, the way we teach it is that you're either going to play this tackle. I don't have it in edit mode here. Let me get in edit mode real quick. But, you know, you can play your tackles how you want to. One of the most vogue defenses everywhere right now, NFL, college, high school, is what they call a tight front, all right? And you'd think that they'd never played it before, but, it's a big buzzword. But all they're doing, Aaron, is they're playing 4 techniques, all right? And so what happens, you've got these 2 tackles right here playing inside shade of the tackle. Now, it's different. It's different, but it's not a lot different than what we've been talking about tonight. A bear defense is when your tackles are playing outside shade on the guards, okay? And then you've got your head up nose. So really, that's the difference. The difference in a bear and a 5-3 is that a bear is a solid. If you hear somebody talk about a solid defense, what they're saying is, typically what they're saying is that you're covering up the center and 2 guards. That's a bear or a solid defense. Kendall?
So this question is from Chuck. If the will sees the guard pull, can you have him shoot the gap left open by the puller?
You could. Now, I'm assuming if you're talking about a guard pull, okay, if the guard pull's right here, you kind of got to look at a little bit what you might have. Maybe a better option, Chuck, would be to give this guy permission to get in his hip and run with him, right? Here's one of the things about a bear defense, why you play it. And it's a good question because I shouldn't have, I left it out. People will play a bear defense just to keep people from pulling. Because look at what's going on here. If you block back and you block back, okay, and you pull, I mean, you're committing this tackle to have to block down too, okay? So a lot of times what people will do is they play this just because they know people don't like the pull, all right, when they've got 3 guys in there. Because now what you can do with a puller, that's a long way for that center to get back here. So look at this. If you pull and you give your tackle permission to get in the hip pocket, he can just run that play down from the backside. That's a harder block than what it looks like, to go from with a head up nose all the way back to a 3 technique. Right now, let me get to your question, but I don't want to be dismissive about what you're talking about. I think you're absolutely right. If they did this, if they maybe, and people do that a lot in youth football, a double pull, heck yeah. There are coaches I know that you teach that will backer. If you see daylight, double pullers, shoot the gap, go make a play. Absolutely. And maybe Chuck, it's just the tackle pulling. And some people will do that. They will pull tackles versus a bear defense, all right, just because of what I just talked about. So if they pull the tackle, absolutely. He can shoot the backside gap. Kendall?
Steven wants to know if you can show the 5-3 under verse 22 once again.
Sure. Y'all can't see this, coaches, but it's always a Zoom thing. It gets in my way. All right, so here's an under, okay? And yeah, it's 22 personnel, more or less. You've got 3 backs in the backfield. All an under defense is, guys, or coaches, is this. You're saying that you're going to have a shade, a 5, and a 9, all right, to one side, and you're going to have a 3 technique and a 6 technique to the other. In other words, you got reduction to one side, shade 5, 9 to the other. Now, if you were at the higher levels of football, this would be a Sam backer, okay? This would be a Sam. And so, and the reason I point that out is because this would be a drop player, okay? Now, the way that we design this with youth is that we're just making it just like a 5-3 because we know we're going to play man-free behind it. But the principles up front, all right, are the same. Is that you're going to go in, you're going to play a 3 technique and a 9 technique or a 6 technique out here, a shade with your nose, A-gap responsible, 5 technique, C gap responsible with your tackle, and now your 9 technique is going to be a run player in the end. All right. So, and the 5 defenses that we have in First Down Playbook are a 6-2, a 4-4, a normal 5-3, a 5-3 bear, and we have a 5-3 under. Kendall?
This question is from Michael. In the 5-3 bear, seems like you can only run cover 0 or 1. Would you recommend to run cover 2 in that front?
You can do it. And we do it over here. You get yourself, though, it's difficult. And I'm gonna show you just, I would not at the youth level. I don't like playing cover 2 at the youth football level, period. All right. I don't care if you're playing a 4-man front, just normal. But, and the reason I don't necessarily believe in it, because I don't think most youth quarterbacks can make you play cover 2. In other words, you should be playing cover 2 if somebody's going to hurt you in the passing game. Now, if you're in a league where they make you play cover 2, and I've heard of that before, but let's just look right here. Here's a 2 back. We're in the varsity section right now, okay? And so as this opens up, what you're going to see is I'll just go to a normal formation. It leaves you gaps short in the run game is what it does if you have 2 backs. Okay, so because what you've got up here, over here you're playing 5 under. It's just a little bit tougher to do it, in my opinion. You can do it. I mean, there are people that can do it, but to me, you're better off, particularly at the youth football level, getting one of these safeties down in the box to stop the run. That's why you're doing it. I mean, you're doing this because, in my opinion, because you're getting hammered up the middle. All right, but yeah, right here you're looking at it. We match up in the varsity level, Michael. We match up 5 different coverages: man free, cover 3, which is strong roll zone, cover 2, which you're looking at, quarters across the board, and quarter halves. We match that up with every defense, and a 3-4 bear is one of the defenses that you're looking at right here. Kendall?
So those are all the questions we have right now. Okay.
Kendall's got some things she wants to talk to you about. If you think of, and I'll finish it up here. If you think of anything along the, while she's talking, feel free to throw that question in and she'll come back to it. Kendall, go ahead.
So as Charlie mentioned, the recording of this webinar, along with all of our past youth football Chalk Talk webinars, are inside First Down Playbook for our members. This one will be ready by tomorrow afternoon and can be found in the youth defensive section. If you are a youth football commissioner, please feel free to spread the word about these future webinars to your coaches. We have 2 more, the next 2 Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, so same time as today. I know a lot of you are already members, but if you aren't as familiar with First Down Playbook, we are the official playbook of USA Football. We have a database of over 35,000 plays, all with coaching points and player assignments for every position. All of our plays are editable using our play engine, or you're able to draw your own from scratch. You can also easily print wristband sheets right from your playbooks, and you saw an example of those if you got in a little bit early that Charlie showed. We have both annual and 90-day season memberships available. Youth 90-day season memberships are $99.99, while annual subscriptions are just $199.99. For joining us tonight, you can get 10% off using the coupon code that is being sent right now, and you can use it right at that address. It's 10% off any membership. And Charlie, we actually just had another question come in from Aaron.
Good.
Your opinion for the best defense against teams that mostly run sweeps, outside runs, or toss? 4-4, 5-3, or 6-2? We are not big, but pretty athletic.
If they're getting outside on you, Aaron, to me, it's a 4-4. You're looking at right here. We've covered this over the past 3 weeks. Like Kendall just said, the bear will go in here, but I'll just use this as an example. The 6-2 would be good too, but the thing that I like about the 4-4 is that if they're tossing the ball, and you're looking at this right here, an example of it. I don't know. Maybe I can even open this up. I think I've got this play in here. It gives your backside backers a chance to run and get to be a part of it too. All right, so this right here is like a double wing deal, and you're tossing the ball out here. If you've got a 4-4 and the backers are all off the ball, it just gives you a chance to get more scrape people to the ball. A 6-2 or 4-4, right? But if it's a perimeter game you're trying to stop, I'm going to play either probably a 4-4. I'd play a 5-3, a straight up 5-3, and have my ends wide. But you want to make sure that you can get people to the ball out here. The 5-3 bear is not what I would play. Anything else, Kendall?
That's it.
A couple other things just before you get off here. First thing is that you're all looking at it right here. We have a free, and maybe Kendall said this, I'm not sure. We have a free demo of FirstDown PlayBook. It's 100% free. All you do, just go to our coaches community site. You'll see it all over there. What's the coaches community site? You're looking at it right now. All right. Every day we put something on here. Might be for flag. It might be, Super Bowl champion Dave Tobe has put his whole point system in our deal. But there's going to be something on here, and if you go to one of them that's got youth football, you'll see where there's a free demo in every one of these. And then the coaching community site itself is worth its weight in gold. And Kendall mentioned about the 90-day. So we got 2 more left. We've got the option coming up next week. We'll talk about, the different types of options, and you want to keep it somewhat simple for the youth. But then I told you before, we're going to come back the very last week and cover the pass game. So we're glad you're here. We're getting closer to the football season. I know there's still some question marks out there, but we certainly are close enough to where we need to be planning if there's any chance we're going to play. Appreciate it. Y'all stay safe out there and look forward to seeing you back here next week.